Hello, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Rudy G Bets Inside the Lines podcast. We got NFL Week 2 and college football Week 3 for you guys today. Once again, joined alongside my co-hosts, Ryan and David. Pretty good week for me last week. Went 6-3 on my plays in the NFL. 1-1 on the best bets. NC State, unfortunately, we couldn't get there, but Cowboys for NFL. Winning 40-0, yeah, you're going to cover the spread in the NFL when you win by that margin. So, Ryan, how was your week?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with my picks. I believe I was 4-2. One of them, of course, was the best bet loser. Unbelievable that the Bills couldn't get the job done despite Aaron Rodgers getting hurt in the first 5 plays of the game. But nonetheless, I think we're going to have a little conversation there about Josh Allen because he's really been turning the ball over like crazy. So I don't know. The Bills are a stay away for right now. But, yeah, other than that, it was a good week.
Hey, guys. I think I was 4-2 as well, Rye and Rudy. I was happy the whole pod was on Texas, so that was a good pick there. And I believe we were all on the Raiders as well, so that was another good one. My best bet looked a little dicey. Looked like the Colts were going to have a little backdoor cover against the Jaguars, but we got lucky. So I'm sure that'll come back around later in the season, but we will count our blessings for now. So pretty good week. Excited to get into week 2.
Yeah, also trying to think the Dog of the Week segment that we introduced. Did pretty well. Ryan and I had the Raiders winning outright. Dave had the Titans, which covered the spread, but just missed by 1 on the money line. So I feel like the two picks, 3 people, both of those were good winning plays. So we'll move on. College football, week 3 here. And I'll get it started out with my first play. I know I've went against them twice already, and neither time did it work out. But I'm going back to the well here with Colorado State plus 23.5 against Colorado. Last week, this line was only 17. It's all the way up to 23.5 because everyone and their mother bet Colorado and they beat Nebraska. But Nebraska was in that game up until Jeff Sims could not stop fumbling handoffs. It wasn't even like he was throwing interceptions and you're just oh my God, with this guy. He literally they couldn't even get a snap off. It was just the most excruciating way to lose a bet because Nebraska could not even handle a snap properly. And then why they didn't go to the backup quarterback is just beyond me because the team was clearly demoralized at that point. But that's neither here nor there. We move on. But so Colorado State, this is a huge game for them playing Big Brother Colorado. And Colorado's got bigger fish to fry on deck. They play their first real test at Oregon next week. Is going to be a huge game. And then after that, they play against USC. I can't imagine that this game means all that much to Colorado, especially with those two big giants ranked in the next 2 back-to-back weeks here. I think we catch Colorado looking ahead here, and we get Colorado State to play a motivated, inspired game. Like I said, I think this game means way more to them, trying to pull off the potential upset against Big Brother of the state. And I think they do enough to stay inside that 23.5. So again, we're going with Colorado State plus 23.5.
I like that one, Rudy. I don't have maybe the gumption to make it a suggestion here. I'm kind of like Ryan with Colorado is with the Buffalo Bills in the NFL, where I'm just kind of wait back and see how this plays out after the first 2 weeks. I don't know if there's something special brewing there. I don't know if they, kind of had luck in their favor these first couple games and if there's really something behind Dion, but there's so much going on with that team that they're kind of a stay away. But I like the logic you're putting out of, maybe a look ahead game to Oregon and USC. But I only have one college football play this week. And it's going to be, I believe the rivalry is called the Backyard Brawl, but West Virginia and Pittsburgh. I swear I looked before the podcast and West Virginia was getting a point, but now that I look at it, they're actually West Virginia -1. Either way, I like West Virginia to win that game. They're the home team in this rivalry. I think these two teams are very close. Their first two games are very similar, where they had a cupcake opponent that they blew out, and then they lost to a more superior team. West Virginia obviously played Penn State, and I watched all that game, and I was really impressed with West Virginia. And here's another little rivalry factor. Pat Narduzzi, the Pitt head coach, he always does this. He cannot keep Penn State out of his mouth. Why won't they schedule us? They're afraid of us. Penn State this, Penn State that. He won't stop talking about that rivalry and getting it back on the schedule. Well, I bet you West Virginia feels a little disrespected. It's like, you better worry about the rivalry you have on your schedule, the rival you play every year. Like I said, they were really impressive against Penn State. So not that I think that Pittsburgh's looking past West Virginia, but I think they're getting a little too full of themselves, and they're a 1-1 team, and you beat, like an FCS school. So I like West Virginia because they're the home team. It's going to be a tight game, but they're -1 right now. Either way, I like them to win that game outright.
Yeah, I feel like that game's always entertaining to watch. It comes up, I think, usually every year and around the same type or the same point in the schedule. And I feel like that's always a good game. So I'll be interested in seeing what happens there.
Right. Before you go, Dave, just because I noticed you were asking, yeah, you could get the best price I'm seeing right now for West Virginia money line is -106, where they're also a +1 dog. The rest ranges anywhere from 106. I see a -110. I see a -115. I see a -120. So yeah, the game's essentially what you would call a pick 'em. So anyway, yeah, right. Go ahead. I just wanted to clarify that for people listening, and see if you could. If you have Unibet, that's where the -106 / +1 was. So,
yeah. So, anyways, last week, I kind of offered up some insight with Baylor. Just said I was mostly reading the line and kind of seeing what made sense and what didn't there. And we were right on that. Baylor did lose the game, but
they should have won that game, though.
Yeah,
they had that game the whole time, and then just fell apart at the end.
Yeah, they ended up losing by 7 right at the very end of the game, and we had 7.5, so that was a winner. Another play that's kind of like that, just me reading the line this week, I'm going to take Missouri +4.5 against Kansas State. Only 7% of the bets right now on DraftKings are going to Kansas State on the spread on that number.
You mean Missouri?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Missouri. And, Kansas State had a game, their last game against Troy. It was a lot closer than the final score. They blew their first two teams out, but Troy fumbled 3 times. So I don't think Missouri is going to do that. And Missouri, was a big favorite against Middle Tennessee last week, but it was more of a backdoor cover situation. Where Middle Tennessee got a touchdown late and a safety late to make that game only a 4-point win, I think it was. But just kind of reading the number on this, like I said, and the spread's close when Kansas State blew out their first 2 teams. I just feel like something's telling me here with the line to take Missouri. So Missouri +4.5 at home against Kansas State.
All right. Yeah, I actually have that game on my board too, but you won't hear about it right now. You'll hear about it at some point in the show. It just won't be right now. So another one that I have circled and have locked in for the weekend in college football is Houston +7.5. Consensus line, every book I'm seeing is 7.5. At the time of recording, at home against TCU. So Houston, right, last week they lost to Rice as like 9 or 10 point favorites. And that was just like a tough spot for Houston because they beat UTSA, which I had in week 1. They were on my card as slight underdogs. Then they had to play Rice, which also Rice is in Texas, playing Houston. Obviously Houston is in Texas, or A&M or TCU or any of those big Texas schools. But for Rice to beat any of those teams, it's a pretty big deal. So then Houston, obviously TCU on deck. But I think we're getting some inflated line value here with Houston, because Houston fell behind by a lot. And I think that just signaled that the defense really was kind of looking ahead, going through the motions, because Houston in that game, they came back, the offense played well, and they made it, as close as they could without winning the game. But now they play TCU, who obviously it seems like this team is not what it was last year. The defense looks absolutely atrocious, and Houston could put up points. I think we've seen that. And catching over a touchdown at home, I think Houston comes to play here. It wouldn't even surprise me if they beat TCU after a letdown spot. And now they bounce back with someone who they clearly had their eyes on in TCU. And I think they get the job done, get the cover, and they might just win the game outright. So those are our picks for college football week 3. But now we'll get into our primetime game segment. We'll go over Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night and give you guys kind of where our heads are at. I know last week, I don't think we really had too many prevailing opinions. I know our best bet, Ryan and I, was the Cowboys on Sunday, and then Ryan had the Bills on Monday. But other than that, I don't think we had too many strong opinions. I know I didn't bet the Thursday or the Monday night game, but with that, we'll get right into it. The Eagles and the Vikings on Thursday night. Eagles about a touchdown favorites, give or take, depending on the book. We'll go to you, Ryan. Is there any? I'm sure you're not going to be betting it, but what do you think?
So, I won't be betting the spread or anything. Obviously, I have enough interest in it the way it is, just being a huge Eagles fan. But one thing I will say is both teams are dealing with injuries. James Bradbury, he's going to be out with a concussion. Kenny Gainwell is going to be out. And I think Reed Blankenship, the Eagles safety, will also be out. So they're probably going to feel the loss of James Bradbury there. I think they'll get by without Gainwell and Blankenship. But the Vikings on the other side are dealing with Christian Darrisaw. He's questionable, and their starting center is also out. So the Eagles should be able to generate pressure. One thing I think I am going to play, it's a little prop bet, kind of a weird one, but with those two offensive linemen, the center being out and the tackle, Christian Darrisaw, being questionable, I like the Eagles to get the first sack at -135. You saw the Eagles kind of generate more pressure as the game went on last week, and it was especially the interior of the line with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. And I think like I said, with that center being out, the Eagles are going to get to Kirk Cousins early and often. And the Eagles' offensive line looked a little shaky last week, but the Pats' D-line is a lot better than the Vikings. And I think the Eagles clean up some of those mistakes. So I like the Eagles to get the first sack, -135.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, Ryan. And hey, look, Vikings may start out 0-2 here. We all know that I was not a Vikings believer from the beginning of the season pod. So looking like maybe I have something on that. But Ryan, you probably don't have the wherewithal to take them because it's your team. You just want to, kind of enjoy the game. But I'll give a pick on this one. I think you can take Philly -6.5. I know that's a big number. I think they cover a touchdown. I think they, not that they look bad. They got the win against the Patriots, but they definitely were not the Eagles of last year. And you look at the Vikings and what they did week 1 in their loss. I think that the Eagles defense, like Ryan's saying, is going to be able to get a whole heck of a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins. And the Eagles will probably be able to, walk up and down the field against this Vikings defense. So I don't see the Vikings being able to keep up. I think there's a chance Cousins will turn the ball over. And I think you could see the Eagles win this one by more than a touchdown. I don't see this one being close.
I I don't really have any opinion on the spread, but I like the Eagles team total over 27.5, I think it was. I think the Eagles are going to win the game, but I don't know as far as the spread goes. But I think one thing we could count on is the Eagles offense being a little more consistent, having a little more cohesion after kind of what was a less than inspiring offensive performance in week one there. I think obviously no rain this week, being back at home against a team that it looks like is going to be a bottom of the barrel defense, like we kind of all said on our preseason show. So I'm going to take the spread out of the equation, kind of like I did in the Super Bowl with the Eagles. Just bet on their offense. I think we'll see them get up and over into the 30s here. So Eagles team total over 27.5 for me on this one. But with that, we will go to Sunday Night Football. And on Sunday Night Football, we have the Dolphins visiting the Patriots. Dolphins 3-point road favorites. I'll go first with this one. I'm just going to say pass. I really don't know, because the way I see it is the Eagles were kind of fortunate to win their game, and the Patriots were kind of unlucky to lose it. If you look at Action Network's luck rankings, I think I sent you guys that article. I don't know if you checked it out or not, but the Eagles were first in terms of luck. The Patriots were dead last. Also, the Dolphins, there was definitely a case to be made that they were also fortunate to win the game. I just don't know. I'm not in the business of laying road chalk in prime time in a division matchup. So it's just an easy pass for me because I could really see anything happening.
Yeah, just from a fan perspective, if you made me pick the game, I'm leaning Patriots, but I definitely agree with you, Rudy. This one, I want to see more from these two teams as the season goes on. I think everyone's going to fall in love with the Dolphins and the offensive performance that Tyreek Hill and they were able to put up. That Chargers defense is just like last season. Looks like it's going to suck through the air. It's going to suck on the ground. So I wasn't surprised to see them do that to the Chargers. And, I mean, Belichick has certainly fallen off a little bit since his heyday, but what do people always say? He takes away your best weapon. So I know they have Jalen Waddle there too, but I like Belichick to scheme something up to not take Tyreek Hill out of the game, but definitely limit his production. So I think this is just going to be a close division battle. I really agree with you said, Rudy. It's one I'm staying away from.
Yeah, that's going to make three of us that don't really have a strong opinion on this game. I think there's better spots to look at. Not too interested in this one. I do think the Dolphins win, but it's just a kind of a weird line because I don't think the Patriots could keep up offensively, but they certainly have a much better defense than the Chargers. So we'll just have to watch and see on that one.
And then we got two more this week. We got a double dipper on Monday night, 7:15 Eastern. We got the Saints visiting my Carolina Panthers. Saints 3.5 point favorites on the road in Carolina. So, Dave, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts?
Hey, since we got Monday night games involving both our teams, I'll make my point pretty quick on both the Monday night games. So you mentioned Saints, Panthers. There's also Steelers, Browns. Steelers at home. They're 2-point dogs right now, I see on DraftKings. I'll make it really quick. I think if you want to take the number, you can on both these games, and you can bet against both me and Rudy's teams. I'll start with the Steelers. You cannot watch how the Steelers played week one and watch how the Browns played week one and take away any other sort of conviction. Then the Browns are going to cover 2 points on the road. The Steelers are going to be missing Cam Hayward and Deontay Johnson. If the Steelers win this game, and this is a huge if, it's going to be one of their famous 13-16 games. Like, they're going to need to make it a slobber knocker, trash fest. So I don't see that happening. I don't know how impressive the Browns offense really looked versus how bad the Bengals look. But like I said, you can't watch those two games and think anything else. And then I think the Saints are going to get by the Panthers as well. I liked what I saw in terms of composure from Bryce Young and the Panthers in that game against the Falcons, but I think we just see this with rookie quarterbacks, even number one picks. It just takes a little bit of time getting there. And going back to last year, this Saints defense, I know it was only the Titans, but they've been pretty impressive. They're holding teams under 100 yards rushing. So they're going to have to make Bryce Young beat him through the air, which I think is going to be a tall task for a second career start. So I think you can play the number on both of these, but I like both favorites.
Right. How about you? What are you thinking for the Monday night doubleheader?
So these are two other games that I'm really not super interested in, but I'm actually going to go against Dave with his Steelers there. And I was a believer in the Steelers in week 1, but I'm not going to jump off them just yet just because of a bad performance. I know they're not going to have Deontay Johnson, like Dave said, and Cam Hayward, but I think the Browns just got a little bit lucky playing in some sloppy weather. And Burrow with the calf injury just coming back, he's rusty like he was last year. I mean, you could see the Steelers just, slug one out. I don't think Deshaun Watson was super impressive. The Steelers coming into the year had high hopes. They finished the year strong last year, and just because they got blown out in week 1, I'm not going to overreact yet. So I'll take the Steelers on the money line if I had to play something there. And then with the Panthers, I can't do anything with the Panthers. I'd like to say the over because everyone's going to be on the under, but I don't know if Bryce Young could score enough points there. And the Saints offense looked atrocious against the Titans too. So I don't know. I can't do anything with that game. So good luck to you, Rudy.
I'm on the opposite of both for Dave. Give me the Steelers and the Panthers. They're both going to win the games. But that's all I'm going to say for right now. I like the divisional home primetime dogs. So now we will get into our bets we actually made for week 1. And I'll start out with one that I have. And it's going to be the Bears +3 at Tampa Bay. Look ahead line on this game, Bears -1.5. What happens? The Bears lose to Green Bay and the Bucs beat the Vikings. Well, as someone who was on the right side and actually bet both of those games, neither of those outcomes were very surprising to me. So in my opinion, really nothing changed about this game. And all of a sudden, it's fine taking Baker Mayfield as a touchdown underdog, but now we're asking him to lay 3 points after one game. The line moves 4.5, 5 points. That just doesn't. I can't even wrap my head around that. Secondly, the Buccaneers were extremely fortunate to even win that game. I don't think the cover was ever in question, but just because they won and covered instead of just covering, and the Bears not looking that great against the Packers, who they've historically been really bad against. I know it's not Aaron Rodgers anymore, but it's probably a good thing for Green Bay. They were probably fired up even more so. So that means absolutely nothing to me. Give me the Bears +3. They're going to beat Tampa Bay outright. This is one of the easiest bets to make of the week, in my opinion. So Bears take the 3, obviously, but they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I like the Bears. I'll kind of piggyback off of that. And I have a teaser here to play for you guys this week. And I'm going to take the Bears up. I couldn't find 3, at least not on DraftKings or BetMGM. But I'm going to tease them up to +8.5. And I'm going to tease the Rams to +14.5. And you get that at -116 on BetMGM. Like Rudy kind of said, the Bucs were lucky to win in week 1. They were actually outgained in total yards, 369 to 242. And the Vikings turned the ball over 3 times. So I don't think it's going to be that easy for them again this week. I think things are going to everyone was high on the Bears coming into the year. I think they're going to turn it around a little bit. And they should look a little bit better against the Bucs defense that isn't super impressive. And then as for the 49ers and the Rams, I'm going to tease the Rams up +14.5 at home. I know the 49ers looked great, but this might be the last time. I hate the 49ers. I can't see Brock Purdy really being that great. And this is going to be it for me if they cover again or if they blow my teaser. But I just can't imagine that this 49ers team is really that good. I'll believe it if they keep it up. But Stafford looked really good against the Seahawks, and some of those young receivers actually played pretty well. So 14.5 points at home. I like that teaser.
I'll jump in for the NFL. I'm going to start with kind of like a cheeky little player prop that I see on DraftKings. So Dak Prescott over 0.5 interceptions is plus 100. I really like that. They could have rolled out me, you, or Ryan at quarterback against the Giants, and they would have won that game. They literally did not need to throw the ball. I don't know the stats, how many times
They didn't need to score on offense. The
Yeah.
Giants didn't score.
Yeah, I don't know how many times Dak threw the ball, but I just think like one, the Jets defense clearly stifles the pass. But I think the Cowboys, for whatever reason, we saw all the highlights of Dak in preseason throwing interceptions to his own team, which they look like a pretty stout defense. But I just think they're going to want to get the passing game going because they didn't have to use it against the Giants. And you're going to most likely have Sauce Gardner on CeeDee Lamb. So if he's trying to force the ball there, I think you have a chance to see Sauce get a pick. And I know Ryan was saying like Allen's been a Pez dispenser with his turnovers, but I don't think that's also in little part to the defense that the Jets played. So that's like a little cheeky one. I do think Dak throws an interception, and you get plus money on it against a really good Jets defense. So I like that one. And then another one I'm looking at in terms of a head-to-head matchup, I almost feel dirty saying this. I like the Falcons at home going against Green Bay. I think Green Bay might be a little bit of an overreaction how badly they blew out a Bears team, which I do agree with you guys. They'll probably bounce back. But the Bears played terrible. It was very much like mirrored the Steelers' performance. And Atlanta, I think they're going to do this to everyone this year. They're going to try to make it where each team has 4 possessions in the game. They're going to run the ball. They're going to drain the clock. It's going to be a low-scoring defensive game. And the Packers, I mean, if the Bears were in it enough to be able to run the ball, they were running the ball on them in the first half. And that's what the Falcons want to do. They're the home team here. They're +1, so you could probably just take them on the money line at a better price at -105. I'm seeing on DraftKings. But I like the Falcons to upset, or it's kind of a pick 'em, but I guess in most people's eyes, it would be an upset over the Packers.
The one thing I will say is you're saying Falcons control the clock and run the ball. Carolina had 11 more minutes in time of possession and 7 more first downs than Atlanta. It was the 17 points off turnovers in Carolina's own zone that really like gifted Atlanta the win. I mean, not even being biased. I mean, and if you just take my opinion on it, you just look at the luck rankings for the week, Atlanta was in the top 10 and Carolina was in the bottom 10. I mean, not saying I necessarily agree or disagree. I haven't bet that game and I don't know if I will, but just something to note. I think Atlanta was extremely fortunate because they did not play well. They had a couple, short fields there that really made that game, in my opinion, way more lopsided than it was. But anyway, Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, so my next play, I'm going to be taking the Chargers -3. I know there's news about Chargers -3 against the Titans. I know there's news about Austin Eckler potentially being out and Nick Bosa as well. I'm sorry, Joey Bosa. But the Titans looked absolutely terrible against the Saints. And I know they kept it close. They only lost by a point. But Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions. They couldn't really get anything going offensively. And the Chargers' offense on the other side, I mean, their defense played very poorly, but their offense played great. And, when you just look at these two offenses, I don't see how, even without Austin Eckler, I don't see how the Titans can keep up with the Chargers offensively. It is kind of a weird line. I thought maybe it would be more like a 4 or a 3.5, but you are getting 3. The Chargers are a team I've kind of continued to like to back, even going back to last year, but I'm just not really a believer in the Titans. And I think the offenses are too far apart here to be that close of a spread.
All right. So Ryan going with the Chargers there. We're kind of sticking with the theme of gross underdogs that no one really wants this week in both college and the NFL, and taking the Jets +9.5 against Dallas. Listen, I know that Aaron Rodgers is hurt. I know. but they're only 3-point underdogs with Aaron Rodgers. Like, I know everyone thinks like, oh yeah, like Aaron Rodgers could definitely score one more touchdown than Zach Wilson, but that's just not how it works in terms of like the spread and betting and stuff like that. I was even looking at like really sharp reports of bookmakers, and they were saying how much a quarterback is from their backup. And like the consensus, Aaron Rodgers only like 4 or maybe 5 points worth the spread. Like a quarterback, most quarterbacks, I mean, yeah, like from Mahomes to his backup, or like Joe Burrow, things like that. Like those guys are like 7-8 points, not Aaron Rodgers at age 40. As bad as Zach Wilson is, it's just not a full touchdown difference. The Jets defense could match the Cowboys, if not exceed it. The Jets are going to lean on the run game. They're going to try and make this one ugly. And Dak, with the propensity to turn the ball over, I like Dave's bet for him to throw a pick this week. Things went a little too well for the Cowboys last week. The Jets had to grind it out. I think we see the Cowboys come a little bit more back to earth, because obviously that's realistically as good as any team could look, 40-0 on the road in prime time where everyone got to see it. But yeah, I mean, I just have to take the inflated number here with the Jets. It's gross. It's going to make you feel gross. You're going to probably hate yourself several times during the game, but it's undoubtedly the side to be on if you choose to bet the game. So I have to take the Jets here, plus 9.5.
Yeah, I like that one as well. And I think, too, with that game, both defenses played so well in week 1. I expect that to continue as the season goes on. So, again, this could turn into one of those games where they're kind of just trading field position. It's not going to allow a team, the better team, the Cowboys, to run away from the Jets just because of how low scoring it might be, how good both.
And just to piggyback off that, the total is mostly like 38.5, 39.5. You're telling me I get 25% of the spread with the Jets? Like, I'm getting 10 points in a game that the total isn't even 40. Like, that's no brainer. I don't care if Ryan's playing quarterback. Like, it's just a no brainer to me to take the Jets. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have any other picks unless you want to get into our underdog segment. That's right. My next couple picks are.
I actually have one more. I don't know about if you do, right? No. I'm going to take the Seahawks plus 6 against the Lions. And here's why. The line was 3. Then the Seahawks get blown out by the Rams. And the Lions upset the Chiefs on Thursday night. Excuse me. And I just don't think 1 week justifies like a 3-point increase here. It's just another one that I just don't agree with at all. I'm trying not to go crazy with just 1 week. Like, I know the Lions won. That's great. That's so big for them. Congratulations. But I mean, I know the Chiefs are like still have Mahomes, but the Chiefs played a terrible game. They gifted the Lions a fluke touchdown that literally went through Kadarius Toney's hands. And not only did they intercept, they ran back for a touchdown. I didn't think the Lions looked that great either, to be honest with you. So just because the Lions had the good fortune of winning by 1 point and the Seahawks losing to a division foe, albeit super unimpressively, I mean, Pete Carroll is historically super good off a loss, super good off a loss against the spread. And now we're asking this Lions team to lay a touchdown. It's one thing to be a touchdown underdog. Now they're laying a touchdown to a Seattle team. Like I said, extremely veteran coach in Pete Carroll, proven winner. And you're going to give me a touchdown? Yeah, I have to take the Seahawks here. It wouldn't even shock me if the Seahawks won this game. I know, banana land, but I think the Seahawks are going to cover, and it would not shock me in the slightest bit if they do pull the upset. So Seahawks plus 6 for me, and then I'll just share a quick teaser. I like the Texans plus 8, Steelers plus 8.5. Just getting the home dogs up and over the touchdown with low totals seems pretty self-explanatory to me. But with that, we'll go into our favorite dog of the week segment. Last week, We were 1-1, but profit obviously with the Raiders, and the Titans did cover their spread. So, Dave, we're going to give you the chance to redeem yourself. You were close last week. What do you got for us this week?
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback off what you just talked about. I like the Seahawks as my favorite dog this week. I like a lot what you said about, it's a whole heck of a lot different game being a touchdown favorite versus a touchdown underdog. And to me, it's like, all right, like Ryan's kind of saying with the 49ers. I know the Seahawks aren't like the cream of the crop, but they should have a pretty decent roster and be in a lot of games. So if the Lions can cover this one, then I'll be impressed by the Lions. But I do think there's a very good chance that we see Seattle bounce back and, win this game outright. So the Seahawks, I obviously like them at +5.5. I think they're pretty easy to cover that number, but I like them outright as well.
Nice, juicy touchdown underdog. I love it, Dave. Going with some balls this week. I like it. All right, Ryan, how about you?
I think mine is pretty ballsy too, but it's not as big as it's not as big of a spread. I'm going to shock everyone here. I'm going to go with the Jags at home on the money line against the Chiefs. Everyone is going to be on the Chiefs. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're going to rebound. Kelsey's going to be back. Chris Jones is going to be back. But the Chiefs were not impressive. And if they can only target Travis Kelsey, the rest of the receivers were absolutely trash. They have a lot to figure out there, I feel like, with their weapons on offense. And the Jags, on the other hand, were once again pretty impressive. They played them close in the playoff game last year. I'm not in love with this game, to be honest with you, but at that value, +160 on the money line, I think it's worth a shot. So yeah, give me the Jags +160.
All right. Yeah, we definitely have two that I don't think most people would be expecting. And this one, I'm just going to retouch on one because I was in between show best bets, and they're both underdogs of a field goal or more, but I'm just going to talk about the Bears again. Well, not too much, but yeah, I explained it before. Baker Mayfield is a favorite. It's one thing betting him as a touchdown dog, but now you're laying a field goal. I don't care if Chicago lost to Our Lady of the Blind last week. The Bucs won, but they really should not have, and they didn't even look impressive against like a terrible, terrible Vikings defense. They put up 20 points with a lot of like just fortunate turnover luck and help by the Vikings just being the pathetic Vikings. So that means really nothing to me. The Bears are going to win this game. I'm very, very confident. So those will be our three dogs of the week, guys. I feel good about this. I like all your guys' picks, to be honest. So let's see if we can get the people 3+ money outright winners. And with that, guys, we'll be right back, and we'll get you our show best bets. You have been listening to Season 3 of the Rudy G Bets Inside the Lines podcast. We'll be right back after this with our show best bets. All right, guys, and we are back with our show best bets for the week. Dave, coming off 1-0 last week with your successful pick. Who do you got for us this week?
I'm going to take a total. I'm going to go back to our prime time segment for one of those games. I know it's a low number, but I'm looking at your Panthers and Saints, Rudy. Give me under 40. So these were two teams that scored. I believe the Panthers scored 10, and I think the Saints won with 17 points. So
16, I think.
Yeah. Oh, 16-15. Yeah, that's right. So neither team lighting the world on fire week one. Again, going back to it, the Saints will be able to stop the run. So I know Miles Sanders, he had a pretty level debut. I wouldn't say he went crazy, but he didn't look terrible. But I think they'll be able to take him away. That means you're going to make the rookie quarterback, like I said earlier, beat you. I just think it's hard for even a number one pick. It's only a second game. So I don't think the Panthers are going to go crazy on the scoreboard, and the Saints offense didn't look overly impressive either. And I was impressed by Carolina's defense. Like you were saying, Rudy, they kind of got put in tough spots with turnovers and short fields. But they can rush the passer, and they got some weapons in the secondary. So I just like this to be a low-scoring divisional game. I know it's a low number, but give me under 40 in the first Monday night game.
All right, Dave, looking at Panthers Saints under 40 for the first Monday night game. Rye, how about you? What do you got for us?
I have two I'm actually going to rattle off here quick for you guys. One's college and one's obviously NFL. So I like Alabama to rebound here, minus 32. It's a spot that I looked at last year, and it's a spot that I'm going back to this year. Alabama to cover the spread after a loss. Couldn't exactly find numbers on Saban's record doing that, but it seems like every time I feel like I back him after a loss and back Alabama and they cover the spread the next week. I wouldn't panic. You know, they were close in that game with Texas, and you know, this has happened where one of Saban's teams in the top 6, you know, if they came into the season ranked in the top 6, it's happened where they've lost this early in the season 7 times, dating back to his time at LSU. And 4 of those seasons, 4 out of those 7 times, you know, twice those teams ended up in the national championship. One time they got to this college football playoffs, and one time they made it to the national championship game without winning. So Saban has a history of, you know, coming back after a loss early in the season. But anyways, I'm just basically backing kind of like trends there. So Alabama minus 32 against South Florida. And then in the NFL, I like the Seahawks. We've already talked about this one, but I couldn't find +6. I'm fine with +5.5 anyways on DraftKings. And some of the reasons why we already kind of touched on it, but yeah, the Lions got lucky to win that game. Obviously the pick 6, and Kadarius Toney pretty much lost the game for the Chiefs. They just couldn't catch anything. He couldn't catch anything. Dan Campbell made some bad decisions, I thought, that he got away with, and just wasn't really impressed with the Lions offense only scoring 14 points despite no Chris Jones. And the Seahawks, you know, one bad loss. I think they'll rebound. They got a lot of talent there on offense. Hopefully Geno Smith can rebound. But, yeah, I think the Lions aren't really ready to cover a big spread like this just yet. I think they're going to be still riding high from their win against the Chiefs.
All right, yeah, it seems like one we are all pretty firmly in agreement with. So good luck to both of you guys on all those plays. I have 3 this week just because there is UFC. It's not a pay-per-view, but it's like an ESPN Plus. It kind of is like a weird thing. But anyway, I tweeted this one out on Sunday, maybe, or Monday. I don't remember. But I'm taking Valentina Shevchenko in the main event, minus 155 to regain her title against Alexa Grasso. I'll make this one very easy for everyone. She was minus 800 or even more, depending on the book, 6 months ago when they fought. She was winning the fight, did a stupid spinning kick, fell down, and Grasso got on top and submitted her. So now you're telling me I could get someone who was minus 800 winning a fight in the 4th round, and just because of the fact that she lost on a mistake, fluke that I just, whatever. She's now under minus 200 on every single book. I mean, you have to bet Shevchenko here. If you're betting this fight, I think if you're betting Grasso now at plus 140 or whatever, like this betting thing probably isn't for you. So I'm taking Valentina Shevchenko at minus 155, bet Rivers. But I think anything under minus 200, honestly, anything under minus 300, and that might be a little overzealous, but I think it's tremendous value. So Shevchenko as my best bet in the UFC. College football, Ryan talked about it. I think it was maybe the first pick of the show. Missouri, plus 5.5 at home against Kansas State. So I think Missouri's going to win this game. So taking the points is just an added bonus. Missouri got absolutely smacked by Kansas State last year. They lost 42-10 or 42-12, 40-12, something like that. They got blown out, right? And now you see Kansas State ranked 15th and Missouri unranked. They played two absolute nobodies. They didn't cover the spread either time. You look at last year's result, and then you see, Missouri is only 5.5-point underdogs. You mean all I need is 15th ranked Kansas State to win by over a touchdown? Not buying it here. Kansas State is going to come in here overlooking Missouri. This is a big game for Missouri as they got blown out last year. Like I said, Missouri just played two cupcakes. They didn't have to show anything. Their job was to win those games, not show anything for this game. Mission accomplished. Now getting 5.5 points. No one likes Missouri this week. I love Missouri this week. They're going to win this game outright. Take them money line and take them spread. And for my best bet in the NFL this week, we're going back to the game Dave talked about. The Carolina Panthers +3, +3.5 money line. They are going to win this football game. A lot of reasons here. So first, let's start out with some trends. Divisional dogs that played week 1 against a dog and lost, and then are playing another division opponent in week 2. 83% against the spread in those situations. Then teams that lost by double digits in week 1, which Carolina did, 63% against the spread in week 2. So that's two over 60% trends in Carolina's favored. Third, I was talking about the Action Network luck rankings. The Saints last week in a 1-point win at home, all those turnovers, only got 16 points and barely beat the Titans by 1. We're in the top 10. Who was in the bottom 10 last week? Oh, that's right, Panthers. The Panthers had 3 turnovers, and the Falcons had 17 out of 24 points on the Panthers side of the field with short fields. That's not going to happen this week. Carolina is going to beat the Saints outright. They beat them both times last year with Matt Rule as the coach, and I forget the other guy's name. I'm drawing a blank. I'm a little fired up here. The defensive coordinator now for the 49ers. That was the interim coach. And they beat him with Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker, Sam Darnold. And they're catching 3 points, 3.5 points at home, primetime Monday night. This team is going to be ready to go. They're going to learn from the mistakes last week. Carolina outgained the Falcons by 60 yards. They had 7 more first downs, and they had 11 more minutes time of possession. Do you know how many times teams win games when they have all those advantages? A hell of a lot more. And this is the week Carolina comes out. They're going to get this win. I'm beyond confident. Take the Panthers. Everyone's taking the Saints. So those are my 3 best bets. We will go 3-0 on those best bets. So with that closing remarks time, we'll go to you, Dave, as we always do.
Yeah, we got out unscathed. I know we had a couple losses in the pod last week, but truly no bad beats. But if you want to hear a sob story, I'll give you a bad beat. Came in fantasy. It wasn't anything we discussed on the pod, but just a quick aside. Monday Night Football, I was up by a handful of points. I had the Bills kicker, and I was playing the New York Jets defense. And I'm with Ryan. Josh Allen needs to figure it the hell out. The interception he threw that was essentially a punt, blew my mind. I know in terms of strategy of the game, okay, it's a punt. He couldn't have been thinking that when he threw that ball, and he just launched it into double coverage. Really quickly, game goes into overtime. The game is tied. Bills get the ball first. I figure, my kicker is going to kick a 3-pointer for the win. They go 3 and out. They punt the ball, and the Jets run it back. So I was furious. I don't blame so much the bad beat on the touchdown as I do Josh Allen. That was embarrassing, his performance. So I'm with you, Rye. If he's going to play like that And I know they'll probably bounce back here against a terrible Raiders team, but I don't think you can trust this guy against good teams and good defenses until he shows it, until he proves it. And they kept flashing that stat that he's winless in overtime. With his turnover stats, there's a reason. Like, maybe some of these games shouldn't be getting overtime. He turns the ball over too much. I hate Josh Allen, so that's my side.
You almost lost to me in fantasy because of him, too. If it wasn't for Diggs, all those catches that he piled up on that last drive, you would have lost to me, too.
Know. Well, can you imagine? That would have been a terrible beat, and it would have paled in comparison to my other league, so I couldn't believe it. But Josh Allen needs to figure it out.
Yeah, he's turning into an expensive Carson Wentz here if he keeps it up. I got away unscathed in fantasy because I was actually playing against the Cowboys defense, and I was up like 70 points with Cowboys defense and Aaron Rodgers only left for the other guy, and he got 37 from the Cowboys defense. And all he needed to do was get like 16 from Aaron Rodgers, and he goes down on the fourth play of the game, and that was in my big money $150 league. So I was pretty happy that Aaron Rodgers went down, and I got away unscathed despite my opponent getting 18 points from Jake Elliott and 37 from the Cowboys defense.
Yeah. Tip of the hat to the MetLife turf for you, attaboy.
Yeah, it was a nice win, but just hoping I could get some more wins in fantasy this week and an Eagles win, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, so I was talking about Steve Wilks when I said the coach I couldn't remember for the Panthers. I was a little too fired up, and my brain was only focused on my best bet, not all the, who was coaching at the time or whatever. But yeah, just not sound like a jackass. Steve Wilks was who I was talking about there. But anyway, yeah, I have nothing to say. It's all business this week. We're going to pick up right where we left off last week. Keep bringing you guys the winners. I expect everyone to have a good week. I loved everyone's best plays. So I think we're going to come back here next Wednesday. If you didn't tune in, you're going to be wishing you did. So with that, guys, Rudy, Ryan, David, signing off. NFL week 2, college week 3. Take care, guys. Enjoy the show. Good luck with your bets.